Let's normalise deep conversations that don't need to be heavy. Surface level was so 5 years ago, so grab a cuppa, get comfy and let's chat. Tea Talk with Chelsea.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Tea Talk. Today I have my beautiful friend Morn, her name is Siobhan, and I have met her through Raniera, who you would have seen in the previous podcast, and we just vibe. So I know you'll all vibe with her. She's a beautiful person inside and out. So Siobhan, if you could please introduce yourself, that would be amazing.
Oh, thank you, Chas. Kia ora, everybody. So my name is Siobhan. I go by Morn by my friends, family, and my circle. I am a mama of 6 tamariki and I am a business owner. I've got 2 salons here in Porirua, and I have an awesome partner, to our children, duds, and yeah, that's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
Nice. And just to go straight into it, how the heck do you handle 6 children and 2 businesses?
And I don't know, sometimes, Chelsea, honestly, I ask myself the same question. People are always like, how do you do it, Morn? And I'm like, actually, I don't even know. I think the one thing that I'm just really grateful for is that me and Duds have really good teamwork when it comes to our parenting. Most of the time, we have our challenges, ups and downs, but most of the time we have awesome teamwork. And I have a village around me, or around us, to support us and help us. And often I say to people, like, if we didn't have our whānau, then we probably only would have had 1 or 2 children. But yeah, we have awesome. Low battery. We have awesome support from Duds' whānau and from mine as well. So it makes life easier and not as hectic as what having 6 kids sort of sounds like.
Sounds like, yeah. And because I always see, all over your social media that your kids are such a big part of your life. Like, do you feel like you're, with having your 2 businesses, do you feel like you are able to create like a really beautiful work-life balance most of the time? Because there's sometimes that it might go a bit, but most of the time, can you create that quite well?
Once upon a time, no. Like, mahi was always at the forefront, and Duds really held it down with the kids at home. I would often work late nights and weekends, and I wasn't the present parent, and I was okay with that because our goal was to build the business, and he was okay, and he managed with being the present parent with the kids. But since having our 6th baby, it's really just created a lot of imbalances for us. We managed right from, having good balance with mahi and whānau from 1 to 5, but going from 5 to 6 is just created lots of imbalance, and now things are starting to shift, and I want to be more of the present parent, and so I'm just making some changes in my life to get things a little bit more balanced, and it's good. It feels good. Once upon a time, I liked being the mahi dog. I liked having, that drive and all of that for work. But I think now that it's far more full on and the dynamics in our whānau are different, I'm definitely needed at home with the kids, and for Duds as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not it's not easy, whether you have 1 kid, 3 kids, 4, 5, 6, it's not easy, but I think it's just being aware when things aren't balanced and then being proactive to make the changes so that you can create the balance. That's the hardest part, because sometimes you don't know what you have to do to create the balance. It's okay, I feel like I'm being really stretched. I'm spending a lot of time in this space and I don't want to be spending that much time in this space. But what can I do to find the balance? And for me, it's been trial and error. But yeah, we manage, and we just kind of wrap around each other, Duds and I, when things get tough, and work through it and just be open to working through it together.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, because I think that's something that I notice heaps is the partnership between the parents, if that's not on, then the rest of the whānau isn't on. And the fact that I've seen you and Duds together, and I know like you guys just work beautifully. It's just this beautiful, calm energy that you both bring. And I sort of like, it's like an inspiration, like for me as well, to want that for me in my life, because being a parent, whether, like you said, whether it's to one child or 10 children, like it's hard, and it has its limits, and you're trying to balance everything, because especially in the space where we're becoming aware, and we're understanding more about presence and those sorts of things, it does become tricky, because it's like, oh shit, now I've got the responsibility that I know these things. I know I need to be present. I know I need to do the thing, but you also have your mahi and, like your passions and things and you're talking about balance, and oh my God. If someone tried to ask me, like, how do you create balance? I don't actually really know right now. And that's okay. Like, but I think what you said is, and what came up for me was like finding that balance that works for you, because you spoke on trial and error, and it will be that, because someone could say that, oh, you just need to wake up an hour earlier and do your meditation and like do all the things, and you're like, bitch, I want to sleep.
Or when you've been up since like 2 o'clock, like feeding babies, like settling children, like, yes, in like the perfect world, to get up an hour early and do meditation and go to the gym would be ideal, but like the reality is that just doesn't happen. Well, for us, it doesn't happen for us, and so to go searching in other spaces to like find ways to create balance. And just recently, because we've been really challenged lately, just recently, Duds and I went on one of the Te Whareaiu wānanga together, and he's done the Tāne Matua ones by himself, and I've done the Hinera ones with my sisters. And so to come together and for us to both do that in that space was like the ultimate reset for us. So now we already feel like we have some like formal foundation of balance, as opposed to like before everything was just wild and chaotic, and like, I don't know, it just felt like we're scrambling and trying to survive and keep our head above water. But we have found something in this space and time that's worked for us to like both bring us back down and be more toe, and we definitely have found far more balance in what it was like before. And that was just from like 24 hours away together doing mahi, so I think people sometimes get caught up in balance, and like you have to make these drastic changes, and it's like this whole journey and all this kind of stuff. And yes, it can be like that, but sometimes it can just be like pockets of time, or like pockets of conversation, or like slight shifts and change that can really like bring everything back into balance without having to get up at 5 a.m. and do your meditation and go to the gym and eat your chicken and broccoli. Like it doesn't have to look like that.
Your chicken and broccoli.
Well,
your prepped meal plan meals that takes
like, to be honest, when I try and do that kind of stuff, it throws me far more out of balance. Like it is so much work to do meal prep. It's so much work to like get up at 5 a.m. when I've been up half the night feeding the kids, and like, be committed to the meditation. Like, not to say that I don't do those things, but to do that like every day and to live by that kind of lifestyle when you're a mum of 6 kids and running the business, for me, it's not possible, and I wouldn't want to put myself in that space and add extra stress when, I don't know, when I can find the balance in other ways.
Yes, and it is about like, because there are so many things out there that says, oh, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, and your life will be like amazing. And maybe for them, like maybe that's something that worked for them. And you could tell people, oh, you should have 6 kids, it's amazing, it's so beautiful, and like that works for you. But for me, I don't want any more kids, and I've only got 2. Like because that's
Yeah.
what works for me. And I think it's just, I think we all need to come to a place of trust within ourselves that we can trust that we know what is needed for us, and
Yeah.
not from like a lazy perspective. I'm not saying don't do the meditation or the affirmations or the working outs or the whatever. I'm not saying don't do those things, but don't put the pressure on that other people are working out 6 times a week, so I should be. It's like, okay, what feels right for my body right now? An example being that I was at the gym this morning for like 10 or 15 minutes and I got a call, a message to say like, does anyone want to walk up the mount? And I was like, oh yeah, I do. Like, I'd rather do that today than, being at the gym doing it. And that's just an example of choosing what felt better for me. And yes, it took longer. It took me an hour and a half to walk up and walk back down. But I got up there, and the feeling of accomplishment, the feeling of like, I did that. And yes, it took an hour and a half. And my friend was so supportive and beautiful about it. And she usually can probably go up and down in half the time. But, like when I got up there, I just really took it all in, and it was such a beautiful experience. I might not do it again for a little while, but it's just, finding what works for you in that moment and having trust within ourselves that we know what the right thing is to do, and not be like, oh, Morn, like, do you think it's all right if I just work out 3 times a week, or do you think I need to do 6? Like, ask yourself, what do you think? Like, that's important too, right?
Yeah, I think that comes off the back of like creating disconnection from comparison, because as wahine, we do that all the time. Like, we're constantly, like, consciously and subconsciously comparing ourselves to others. And I think once you can create a disconnect there, it's so much easier to trust yourself. It's so much easier to know what choices to make and all of those sorts of things. But when you are holding on to like comparison, then you just do it, and then you get drawn into doing other things that you think you should be doing instead of doing what you feel you should be doing.
Yeah, I was speaking to a girl the other day on the last the last tea talk that I did, and she is talking about being like connecting back to her divine feminine, like the feminine energy. And it's just like, just speaking on this and the feeling into things, I feel like is powerful in itself. And that's the way that we can connect back to that space and not be so in our masculine as well. Like, and so I think connecting back to the feeling, okay, what feels good for me right now? And that you can sit with yourself for like a minute and be like, hey, what do I actually feel right now is needed? And that's with anything that you do.
I think it can be hard though, like when you live such a busy lifestyle and being a mum, and like your hats are constantly changing. Like, obviously it's good to lead with your heart no matter what, but like it can be hard to sit in that space when your mind is rushing and what to associate the feeling with, I do that often, and sometimes I really struggle. I'm like, wait, what is that feeling? I can't even identify what it is, and then it makes me even more like anxious about what choices that I'm going to make. And one cool thing that we learned just last week was about there being 3 spaces. So the space here, and the space in your puku, your gut feeling, and like tapping into those 3 spaces to be able to then make your choices from that. Because often we go straight into our nako, and like when you're busy and on the go and you're like, oh shit, I need to find out what I need to do, it can be hard to actually like get in there and know what it is that you need to do. But when they brought up that actually if you try to go into the 3 spaces, it makes it so much easier. And I've found for me, it's been like a game changer. I can make choices and decisions just like that once I pull all 3 together.
Yeah. And so is it working with like your head, your heart, and your sacral, like sort of all together?
Yeah.
And like asking sort of each space, or how does that work? Like, how does that look for you when you have done it?
For me, it's like opening those three spaces, feeling what my gut is feeling what my heart is feeling, and also being aware of what I'm thinking as well, and making choices based on those three things, because you do need to be logical sometimes, and then also that feeling in your puku will tell you something, and so your heart as well. And so when you can align all three of those, the feeling is really strong. It's logical, it's heart led, and like you get that gut feeling that it's right or not right. So when all of those are aligned, then it just makes things so much easier. That's been like an awesome tip for me, because I like to say that I'm heart led, but often that can be challenging with the lifestyle that we live. So yeah, I'm ticking the logic box, I'm ticking the heart box, and my puku is saying yes, do that or don't do that. So yeah.
That's such a beautiful point to bring up, because I feel like it's something that we forget. Like when we are sitting with ourselves and we're like, okay, what is it? Like, what do I need to do right now? What is the thing? We forget that there is those three spaces. Like we all know it, because we'll be like, oh, I always think da 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 da, or oh, my heart feels this, or oh, my gut doesn't feel right about that. Like we always speak about it, but we never align it or connect it in one, thinking about it all together. So that's really beautiful that was brought up.
Yeah, it's been a game changer for me, definitely.
Yeah, love that. I have 3 questions that I like to ask. They're all the same questions, but I just like hearing different people's point of views. 2 of the questions are, personal development sort of style and healing and things. And also the last question from me is a bit of a funny question. And then I have a 4th question that I ask you that is from the previous person that was on here. So the first question is, what is one thing you want or would say to your younger self?
I think one thing that I would say to my younger self would be to start early to find out who you are. Because I think for me, I started that journey like in my late 20s, early 30s. And had I been aware of that there was actually a path for that as a younger person, I think I would have been far more confident back then. I would have had so much more trust in myself, and the decisions that I made when I was a younger person, I think I would have valued more than, some of the choices and decisions that I made not knowing any of that type of stuff. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. That sort of gave me like little goosebumps in my arms when you were speaking about, getting to know yourself and know who you are, because I feel like that's spoken a lot, but there's not really that understanding of how, like, okay, well, how do I find myself? You know what I mean? And I think it is just about doing your research again, finding what works for you, because what's worked for you might not work for me, vice versa. Like, and it's coming back to, those, what we were just speaking about, like, and your puku and your heart, and thinking like, okay, am I thinking or feeling this because someone else has said this about me, or this is the way we should think and feel and be, or is this the way that I want to be because it's the way I want to be, right? And thinking,
when you're a young person, it's so challenging. Like, the world out there is crazy, man. Like the environments that our kids are exposed to, especially our rangatahi, it's insane. And had we had the tools that we have now to go down those paths of being able to connect with self and, understand who we are and who we want to be, I think life would have been quite different for me. and would be for our kids as well. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you. The second question I have is, what is one thing you are so proud of yourself for?
I think being the type of mum that I am, I'm super proud of. Yeah, I like have lots of aroha for my kids or just like children in general. I'm not like an angry, aggressive type of person or parent. I'm always the one that will like calm the situation or, you know, yeah. So I think that's what I'm most proud of is the type of mum that I've become. Sorry, not I am, that I've become.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And what is your favorite ice cream?
Ooh. The Little Island, the chocolate flavored Little Island ice cream.
Little Island? What is that?
Yeah, brand Little Island. It's like it's a dairy free one. It's a coconut ice cream. It's freaking amazing.
Oh, okay. The chocolate one.
Yeah, yeah, the chocolate one definitely.
Yeah, okay. I need to try that.
You
And
do-
from the person prior to you, was what has been the biggest lesson that you've overcome?
What has been the biggest lesson that I've overcome? Um, do you know what? I don't have a straight answer for that, but I often / always look for lessons and challenges. Like that's my favorite part of when I'm challenged is like, oh, what was I supposed to learn from that? Or what can I learn from that? So there's nothing in particular that's been massive for me, because I'm constantly hunting for lessons and challenges and I'm always challenged. So yeah, there's no one thing in particular that I could say because it's something that I just do naturally, you know?
And I think that's the thing that you've overcome is maybe because when you were younger, you probably would have reacted or responded in a totally different way. So the fact that now when a challenge arises, you can be like, okay, what's the lesson in this? Like, what do I need to learn from it? Rather than being like, oh my God, this is all happening. Like, and just getting into a really messed up state. So I think that's probably something in itself.
Yeah, totally. I used to be like that. Like, man, I was creating chaos and just like stress and like all this kind of not nice stuff. And I was like, why am I doing this? And the same things are happening over and over again. And I realized obviously it's because I'm not looking for or learning the lessons in these challenges. And once I realized that, I was like, man, that's just what I'm going to do from now on is like when I'm challenged, I'm just going to look for the silver lining in it and actually apply. Because I think sometimes we can look for the lesson, but we don't apply. And then that cycle happens. So, yeah.
So beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being on here with me today. It has been, like, I'm gonna say like heartfelt episode with you. And I knew it would be because you are just so and so calm and just like, like so I knew that I would just feel into this a lot more. So I'm really grateful that you've come on and shared all your wisdom with us today.
Thank you. And thank you for creating the space and making it so comfortable. I think like you say, we need more of these types of kōrero out there and it's the people that make it. So thanks, Charles. Appreciate you. Love you.
Love you so much. Bye, everyone. Have a really beautiful day.
Comment one takeaway below and share on your social media. Don't forget to tag me. Love you.